All right, let's get right to it. So this is, in my opinion, the best Absent Humans, Death and Taxes, whatever you want to call it, deck in Historic. So we'll go over the deck tech and then we'll hop into some games. We have 4 Esper Sentinel, just a really good 1-drop, really good against the spell-based combo decks, or just decks that have a lot of spells in general. A Giant Killer to fetch up with your Ranger-Captain of Eos, 2 Thraben Inspectors, that's just another decent 1-drop in the deck, something you can fetch up late game if you need an extra card. They have a Lunarch here, which is insanely good to kind of break a board stall, something that gets bigger every turn, something that you can also fetch up with Ranger-Captain of Eos, which is a really good addition to this rendition of the deck. We have the Adversary here. It's a really good 2-drop, which is the weak point in this deck, I would imagine, is the 2-drop slot. Not a lot of impactful things outside of Thalia you can do on your own turn 2. And this also scales. So on turn 4, it acts as your 5th and 6th lieutenant. We have 4 Thalias, 4 Thalia's lieutenants, and then 2 Kitesail Freebooters. Our 3-drop slot is Elite Spellbinder, just another part of the deck that taxes and is an evasive threat, really good here. A card that really shifts the matchup in your favor for the go wide creature decks or things that just kill a lot of things. This card creates human tokens for each attack, and it has Vigilance, so it blocks really well. This card is a really good turn 3 play, which against creature decks, some of these cards may not be on their own. Also triggers Thalia's Lieutenant with its trigger when you attack, so it's a really good card. I think it's probably the best card in the deck that you can play. It's probably the most impactful card you can play, excuse me. We have 4 Rangers just as a good 3/3 beater that you can search up. Utility cards here, and then 3 general Kudros, which is probably the weakest 3-drop in the deck, but you need a Lord and it has some graveyard utility, which is really good. And then to top it off, we have 4 Company and 23 lands, I believe. Yeah, 23. And for the sideboard, we have 1 Fatal Push, a single Rest in Peace, 2 Dromoka's commands, which allows you to grow your creatures as well as fight, and also lets you sacrifice an enchantment. So if your opponent has like a Heliod or something of that nature, you can kind of just get rid of it along with growing your creatures. It's really good there. I'm choosing to play Skyclave over the human that came out of the new set. I can't think of his name right now, even though it doesn't trigger any of our human abilities. This is just a touch more flexible, and in the sideboard I kind of want more flexibility over something that's on cue with our synergy, but I could change my mind as the games go, and we'll make that swap if need be. We have Reidane, the God of Worthy for just more attacks ability, and then the backside is also playable against aggro if it can make it go long. And then we have, however you say this, Selfless Glyphweaver. This is the cards you want to bring in against control or really removal heavy decks. Just kind of gives all of your creatures indestructible, and is a 2/3 for 3, which isn't bad. And also has a backside if the game goes really long, but any game that goes that long where you cast in the back half, you're probably losing anyway. Well, in Historic, the creature decks can also wrath you, so we have 2 Witch's Vengeance, and then we have Yasharn to deal with any of the food decks. So we're gonna hop into some games and see how it plays out. I guess to talk about how this stacks up against the rest of the field, this is probably a champion of the parish away from being the best aggro deck in Historic. Right now I still think Merfolk holds that spot because it has a lot of ways to slowly interact as well as be aggressive, and having Master of the Pearl Trident lets you just ignore blockers. Really good Hearthstone hand, but not something I want to keep playing Magic. This is a really good hand. We'll pitch back a Company. And having a 1-drop isn't the worst thing in this deck because there's only a couple. And we got very lucky and hit one anyway. So we have a really nice curve here. Thalia and Collecting Company, not the best combo in the world, but blue-red means we're probably going to have our pick of spells to tax with Thalia here. Let's see. I gotta figure out how I want to sequence my pathways because I need double white, and I want a black in case I draw one of the black cards. This is probably going to be a turn 5 play, so I'm just going to prioritize getting the green and white. So we'll go green here. Actually, let's just go double white. I know I won't double white for sure. And this gives us an extra draw step to see if there's anything we do with this. Okay. So we are playing control here, and this is a pretty good matchup for us overall. There are obviously draws they can have to just blow us out of the water. Control is the best thing you can be doing in the format if you're a competent player, so we'll see how it stacks up here, but on paper this is a good matchup for us. That's a win for us for sure. That was a very good draw. Let's see, so if they wrath our board or they get rid of this, this is a turn 4 play. So I kind of want to stack up for the very good chance that they kill this, probably with a helix of some sort. Let's just start growing this guy. It triggers off of our attack, which is really good. It's gonna put a lot of pressure on them very quickly. It's probably gonna force a turn 5 wrath if they have it, and we get to untap and company and kind of just rebuild from there. So it looks like they don't have much. If they, let's see if I want to play around the wrath, because we could play the Lunarch here into Thalia's Lieutenant and probably kill them next turn if they don't have interaction. The missing land drops is good for us though. So let's put a lot of damage on the board, force them to draw a land into a wrath if they have it, and then we'll just untap and play company. So we'll play this for 1. And if they decide to do anything with that, then so be it. Alright, so there's their 5th land. Okay. I'll take that for sure. I think they made a really big mistake when they charmed our drop here. Yeah, you gotta take 2 on me. Because you can cast it from the graveyard. So you have to pay 5 for this and then 1 for this. Yeah, like I said, very good on paper. Control player can beat this if they're good. Obviously, he wasn't very skilled. Doesn't matter his cards. So we're just gonna bring in 4 cards here. Bring in the cards that aren't very impactful. So the Thraben Inspector is a low top deck. I don't want more than 2 Kudros here, and we get rid of an adversary. There's nothing else I want. You don't want to bring in Skyclave Apparition for this. You just kind of want to let the stuff they have on board be. I don't want to bring this in for any miscellaneous enchantments, so I think we're just gonna hit submit. But the 3-drop I was talking about earlier, I think her name's Adeline. Yeah, this one. This one is why we won. This is huge. This is a very big addition to the deck, and I think it's something that really pushes this archetype forward into the upper echelons of the aggro tiers. We don't have a play until turn 3. Not very good. They kept 7 Mulligan here. Very good curve. 1 to 2 into 3. So I need to pitch a 2-drop to keep my curve intact, and Thalia is a lot better than anything else I could be doing, I believe. So we'll pitch back to the Kitesail. Hitting a green is good, but I don't really want to land at the moment. Just kind of want to touch more gas. So this is really good. It kind of gives us more cards. They're probably going to interact with Thalia here, and they have to do it for a price. Sure. They get 3 life, but I get Thalia, and it taxes them for until they can get rid of it. This stops their expressive iterations from being good, from getting a land if they decide to play one. They have removal, which is fun. Block this in and get another Esper Sentinel, I believe is what I want. And then we will there. Alright, so we will play this for 2 and then play another Esper Sentinel. This must be his first day playing control. I don't believe you can pitch this off the secondary cast. Okay, so if they have a Wrath, we're gonna be in a tough spot, kind of. But if we can dodge a Wrath, they have removal, so I don't think they kept anything with like double removal into a Wrath. That's looking good for the home team. I think I want to attack here. I think 2-2 is fine. I don't have any interest in pumping my team right now. They're gonna point a Helix at Thalia if they do, and it's just too much pressure not being applied to grow the Thalia with the Lunarch. They only have 2 cards in hand. If it's a Wrath, then it's good beats. If not, we're in a really good spot though. Sure. Now they're choosing the correct play to draw to this go round. Another land is not where I want to be. But we have a somewhat decent clock. We have a fair amount of tax. Thalia's Lieutenant wins it for us here, I believe, if they have no interaction. Sure, you got it. That's a good hit for us. They are dead on board, I believe. 3.
Trust me. You'll thank me later.
Sure.
Let's take it back.
So let's see what they're doing here. They don't have anything to cast, really. They have a Lightning Helix, which could be bad for us, but they have 2 of those, so our only real pick is the Archmage's Charm. So we'll send one here.
How long do you want to wait for?
I'm just gonna put this on the battlefield. One extra blank can come in handy for sure. So they can't overload this. This is 8, 9. They were most certainly the worst control player I've ever played this high up in the ladder. I appreciate the free points. Definitely a freshman at Hogwarts. They did not know how to sling spells. But his mistakes aside, I hope that showed kind of the power that this is a very good matchup on paper for Death and Taxes. Opponent had triple removal that game and still lost pretty handily, even with really powerful cards in their hand. Just the tax makes them so off balance that they can't really be as efficient as how that deck is designed to be. We get to go first. We have 1 and 2 drop. We'll draw third land. We also have like really good cards for most matchups, so this is a very good keep. This is probably on the better side of hands you could see with this deck. Outside of Adeline, I believe her name is, this is a sum of its parts. Okay, again we're playing control, but you see the power of this card. We're ahead on cards now. We drew our land. And we get this accent with Thalia into an Elite Spellbinder to put pressure on the more meaningful cards in their hand. This is fun. They were definitely set up for this kind of matchup. See what they can do with all of our creatures here. Just a side note, you want as much white as you could possibly get, especially if you have all your colors. Let's see, I'm going to take the Archmage's Charm. It's the most impactful thing they can do, and it's the only single thing that I truly care about. If they spend their turn cycling this, so be it. But they'll probably give them the velocity if they get to draw 2, they get to be in this game comfortably, but this is fine with me. So we're just gonna play Spellbinder here. This lets them censor this, but I'm fine with that. So small mistake on my part here. I should have played this on green and used this way. We'll see. See if that comes back to bite us. And it very well could, now that they're kind of drawing out of their land screw. Alright, this is decent pressure. They have to hit a land to interact with their board. I suppose if they have a raft, then good game, but I'm gonna play this. This gives us card advantage. We know we have a Spellbinder on top. Let's see. If they have the card that cycles and gives a shark, that's fine. Alright, prepare your eyes. This is gonna be really bright when this resolves. This is kind of a bug on Magic, so if you have your screen close to your face or anything like that, kind of just look away or something. It's really bright. So again, they had triple removal there, and they countered a spell, and we still won very handily. Even though they were mana screwed, they still played on curve for the most part, and that's about as much interaction as you could expect from any game 1 deck. And you still just had ample pressure, right? They had to deal with everything. So do the same thing as last time. I want 4 cards in. This time I'm going to cut the Giant Killer because I don't have Mizzix Mastery or anything like that. So we'll cut 1 Kudro and 2 Thraben Inspectors. Sounds good. I want to keep this in this go around. This is a 3-1 for 2. It's really good, and it scales late game, which these games are probably going to go, so I think I want to switch up from how I boarded last time. Alright, so they kept 7. We don't have shit to do till turn 3, so we're gonna pitch this one back. I would consider keeping if we were on a white land, but we're not. So we're gonna pitch 2 back. I'm gonna pitch our higher casting cost cards and play with what we have to hand. Since we're far behind, I'm gonna play Kitesail first. That way, if they have a removal spell or anything like that. They have 2 Field of Ruins, and I don't have any basics, so this is gonna be a little difficult. They don't know that, but once they build me off of one land, Genia 2 will be coming shortly. So this game might be wrapped up in very short order. I just want to tax their next plays as much as possible. I kind of want to draw cards too, so this is gonna allow me to kind of unmulligan a bit here, and hopefully keep them from just spinning their mana to field. If we can dodge a field activation from them from 1 to 2 turns, we should have enough pressure to be back on the front foot here. Also inadvertently played around a sensor with my sequencing. So if all they do is Baffling and then pay for the tax, we still have this up. We get to Spellbinder next turn. Shark Typhoon probably means we're dead here. That's not something that can beat. And them just playing it for 3 trades with our Spellbinder and draws them a card, plus they have a settle. We can play around the settle, not in a truly meaningful way with the shark. If they hardcast it, we may be able to squeeze this game through. But the correct play is definitely to cycle for 3 and 4, however. Yeah, it would be 3. You have to pay 2. And then just kind of go from there. But they're going to give us 2 cards, which is huge. I think I definitely would have cycled and tried to trade this in combat. Now we're just gonna play around the settle here. Just make sure that this trades, and it kind of time walks us, but you know, with these in play, all we have to do is just be smart with our attacks to dodge this, and we should be drawing enough cards to kind of make what they do irrelevant. It was a good sequence on this part that he... Oh, they were missing red. Alright, well that definitely unmulligans us. And then some. Yeah, definitely want to just get my value with this before I accidentally draw. And get this going for sure. I played this over the Sentinel, which could potentially draw its cards, but they have enough mana to where the one tax they do isn't gonna be too bad. Oh yeah, this is probably the best card in the deck against any spell-based decks, which is the majority of what he's got going on here.
Right on schedule. Keep up the pace.
So yeah, this is why I chose not to play the Sentinel. He could have paid the 1 and just been fine. He will have a settle up with this play, and this will potentially be very hard to beat, but just have to see how it plays out. Alright, so I'm gonna start with this, see if this gets countered. And then we'll, yeah, I think I want a company, and then just play this for 6. Let's see, he's not low enough that going for his life total is the correct play here.
Enough. Hurry.
I suppose an option or a play line is to stack this on my turn so he can't settle or interact with my board to get rid of this, but I don't really want to throw away pressure. Yeah, that one did it. Don't think that, well, I don't think I want to change how I board it with anyway. Let's see, he does have baffling, and so that may be a reason why I want a Dromoka's command, maybe just to kind of interact with his interaction. With how many portable holes and just target base or exile he has, I may not want to run these and run 2 Dromoka's commands. Yeah, because this also counters helixes, so I think that's what I want to do. Because I did see the try-on from him too. Alright, we get to be on the play. I do note that that game we played was a mulligan to 5. And it still took Teferi and a Baneslayer to kind of get out from under us there. So this hand is a touch weak, and we need a land drop to kind of get where we want to be to cast Company on curve, but this is a good hand to highlight the low point of the deck here. Our 2-drop slot is kind of weak. A 1/1 for 2 isn't where you want to be. Let's see. So Grafdigger's Cage kind of nullifies our companies, which is it's fun. But they're showing a censor or a 2-mana removal here. See, so we know they have field, so we don't need green anymore because of this, so let's just play another black. What do I want to have censor? I think the Spellbinder at this point, because it by the off chance it does resolve, it does trigger our values within it. Let's finally get in for 1. Now next turn we have some consideration to do that we could place on the backside. Yeah, I want to check because this card's really important to tax their like important game winning spells. The censor spawn. The only turn 4 play that I'm really worried about is a Wrath, and it's just a 1/1 at this point. So let's play Reidane to see if it resolves. If it doesn't resolve, we're not going to be in a very good spot anyway. And I don't want to attack here because if they have a shark, that's a really bad trade for me. This on white for sure. Alright, I'm gonna play the Ranger. And then I'm gonna attack before I play anything else. That way if they do have a shark or something like that, you can get around it with Dromoka's command. Yeah. Which is fine for us. If I want anything out of Helix range, it would be Reidane, right? So then they'll fight. Okay, and then you get a card. So with the Grafdigger's Cage, we can't play this out effectively. They only have 2 cards in hand, but they do have Cave, which stops me from attacking. Spellbinder's a good draw, but still doesn't get through this. So we kind of on the back foot here with the Cage stopping our card advantage this game. So I can't attack because of the creature lands. He's playing this very well. I get to draw a card off of this, but it doesn't look like I'm gonna win this. It's a very good reason why this is the best deck in the format. It's so customizable. That was a lot of interaction that he had. The memory lapse really hurt. It threw us off base and it made us redraw our same card. Censor isn't typically played, but it came through there. It probably stopped us from kind of getting under his interaction, especially the Day of Judgment. And it forced us to use a Dromoka's command just to save a creature. But it's looking like we're probably in garbage time, especially with the Wrath. They also have this to kind of block our ground creatures. Yep. Yeah, we're done here. So for 101 against control, it's kind of to be expected. Control is the best deck in the format by a large margin, and it still held up its own there. Like our opponent had some really insane draws games 2 and 3, and our deck performed really well still. Like the Esper Sentinel undid our mulligan and then some, and we were a turn 2 memory lapse away from that shouldn't have happened to potentially getting under the Day of Judgment and winning that game. But once you're in that play pattern of 1 to 2 creatures on board and it's turned like 8 or 9, just give up. Your control opponent's just gonna sit there and win every turn from there forward. It's just a really good Hearthstone hand. I would definitely keep. We had 2 lands, but not all. Suppose I'm going to 5. This kind of undoes our mulligan a bit. Alright, so we do have a creature matchup here. This card's very good against us. They're probably just gonna hawk us down game 1. But we'll see. So I play this card in my version of Merfolk, and the idea behind it is when you're playing a creature matchup or a mid-range removal style matchup, that they have to point their removal here instead of at your lords or more important cards to stop them from dying. So I really like this card inclusion from the opponent here. Let's see on the back foot on the Morgan. The 5 is probably going to seal the deal. Let's see. I don't want to block. I want to try to build this up to the point where we can successfully block. 2 lands for them is really good. I would like to just trade lords and kind of decrease everything a bit, but us kind of already being at 3 and this being unblockable, it's be very tough for us to race here. I think I have to attack, right? Like, they're gonna beat me down before if I just hold them. But these 2 are blockers at worst case scenario. Yeah, it looks like we're just gonna lose to the unblockable guy. Yep. We do have a lot of removal against them though, which is good. Let's see, Spellbinder comes out. Thalia comes out. Spellbinder, they tend to play under this, and as a 3-1 that doesn't trade well in combat with them is probably not where I want to be. Kitesail is very bad. We're bringing in a lot of spells here, so I don't really want a Thalia, even though the first strike is kind of useful. We're on the play, so we can snag like a 3-mana lord or something. So I'll bring in 2 spellbinders, but on the draw, probably we take those out. Yeah, this is a very good hand. Definitely the control deck with the Witch's Vengeance and whatnot, but we get to rebuild with Collected Company, so I'm fine with not having much to do on turns 1 or 2, or anything rather. But we get to play pain-free mana, and we have our colors, so it's definitely a fine keep. But this is where Death and Taxes struggles, is against creature deck, you know, as such as playing against Merfolk. Weird to see them with this and the unblockable 1-drop. They have a wonky build, it looks like. Since we have 2 Witch's Vengeance, I'm more than likely going to take my 2 for 1 here. Yeah, gonna for sure take my 2 for 1 here. The Historic on the creature deck grass you. Now we can rebuild with our own company, and then if they get too wide again, we'll just re-wipe their board. Alright, this color hurts us quite a bit. It just stops our company, so I'm just gonna play a Spellbinder, kind of check for Slavoon, or however you pronounce the most busted card that they got in the recent set. Let's see. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna encourage them to just play their lord out next turn, and then we'll just rewipe with Witch's Vengeance. And this game's thoroughly in the bag, unless they draw a miscast, which they should not bring in the 28+ creature matchup. It looks like he's going through the lots of play in his head, but unless he has a Spell Piercer in this cast, this game's through. Now, if he attacks with a Miscalla, I'll have reason to pause, because that would imply he has interaction for a couple spells of mine. No attacks at all is weird. Well, we'll see what you can do with 1 card in hand. Do we have a game? Alright, we do not. So we'll untap and play company immediately. Nobody's making a lot of noise. This is swing for 7. I don't really want to trade this quite yet. They don't have any other merfolk, and I know what's available to them. But what you saw with our company was a consequence of us bringing in a fair amount of spells, 3, 4, 5 to be exact. We almost missed, and it definitely is reason to maybe cut a company when you bring in all of this interaction. Just something to note. Because our next company is statistically likely to not hit 2 creatures. And if so, we were lucky to do so. So that may actually be the play with them having this caller and us being on the draw. That's something we could bring in Thalia, kind of block efficiently with the first strike. But being on the draw with Thalia plays really bad against our own interaction. So he has Amp. He can definitely petty theft something this turn, or just play this straight up to block. So we can realistically only swing for 3 if I don't want to trade this. One of the line of play is that he bounces Skyclave and double blocks the Kudro. And then... let's see, I don't... So if he casts Petty Theft for 4 now, he can play the back half for 3, but he doesn't have the mana to do both. So it looks like he's just dead. Another Skyclave should seal the deal. I'm just gonna get rid of this. It just makes combat easier. And if they bounce this, I just replay it. So it's not really good value for them. Let's see, so they have to petty theft the Elite Spellbinder to not die. So he's just choosing a straight up block, which is a good line. Put some Nolan here. Now for the hard part, we got to play this on the draw. So I do want to cut a company. Let's see, Kitesail does nothing. This also does nothing. I guess if the game goes super long, this kind of allows us to board wipe them. Sure, we'll do it for science. I could also cut all of my companies and bring in Thalia's, but again, with my removal, that's not exactly where I want to be. I definitely need to cut some 3-drops, right? It's not exactly... The back half of this is a consideration as well. It prevents 1 damage, and they have to pay an extra to target my things. But if I'm playing and I drop this for 4 mana and I don't really affect the board, especially on the draw, it's probably a losing opposition. Or proposition. Yeah, I want to cut companies. The game's gonna go long. I don't have as many creatures as the math would suggest you need for a company, and with them having Mistcaller, it's also just this is very good. Alright, so we'll play tap land, play this guy. Alright, small problem. We don't have double black. never didn't have it. And it says lifelink, so getting the swing in, gotta catch back up on the damage we took is gonna be very good. Then not following up with anything relevant there is good for the home team. Let's figure out how I want to play this. I kind of want to double spell this turn. Make it to where they have to double block this. And gaining life is a really good way to combat this as well. Let's see, so I could Sentinel into Thalia's Lieutenant. I want to grow the Thalia's Lieutenant, so we'll do it backwards. I don't expect them to have any spells. So I'm gonna attack. Can I offer them a double block if they want it? And then next turn, if they have a Lord that has Slave Moon, or however you pronounce the name of that 3-drop creature from the newest set, I can just exile it. Alright. It's very poor draws from the opponent. This is appealing, but this doesn't let this trade in combat. Stops him from drawing. That attack was terrible. Yeah, good game. So I had a lot of ways to win there. That game 3 was really uneventful, but that's a reason to play. Again, to play humans over the other travel deck in Merfolk, is the interaction that I had there just blew them out of the water. Like, there was no way for them to recover there. Even with that company, like, we're just back at parity and I have a handful of cards. So the Witch's Vengeance and the removal kind of gives you a lot of leeway in the creature matchups, especially the travel. It's a bit more difficult when your Witch's Vengeance don't come in. Say you're playing like red-green deck or something of the sort. But I still think overall that the interaction that the mana base gives you is a strong consideration as to why you should play this deck. So I have another spell-based deck, more than likely, considering our Steam vents here. So we're just gonna tax them. There's a good chance this gets Helix, and then we just untap and play Spellbreaker and go from there. No Helix is good for us. So let's see if they have a Wrath or anything impactful. They can't do anything except that, I suppose. Let's get rid of the Anger here. So I have a line of play to get rid of the Magma Opus here. If this gets countered, I'm probably in a bad spot. But I'm gonna go for it. This makes the Anger a very likely possibility next turn, but we're just gonna have to eat it. And hopefully draw a green source for our company. they're gonna get a wipe our board. Or are they gonna take a turn off? Okay, okay. Well, I think I'm just gonna play Ranger, grab a Esper Sentinel, and then sack this on their upkeep so they can't interact with my board. So that was huge for them, that kept them in the game. Try this again. Alright, so we definitely have a game on us now because of the memory lab. They don't have a instant that I care about, so we just completely nullified the Gear Hulk. So I'm gonna play this and potentially bait this out of their hand. So I let it resolve. Let's see, double Gear Hulk is rough. Alright, I suppose we're just gonna take Teferi.
Let me know if you're up for round 2.
Dude, there's not a whole lot I can do here. Because the Mark command kind of eats my board. See, I think that Teferi just locks it up. Yeah.
I know what must be done.
I think that's all I want. Just kind of get rid of the cards that I don't want to draw. Let's see, I don't think I want Giant Killer. It's such a bad top deck, but a lot of their deck is predicated around the Gear Hulk. All of our 3-drops are really good here, so our deck is going to be really high on 3s. I suppose that's how I want to do it. This is not a very exciting hand. I think we can do better than this. Our mana's not very good. But I think I'm just gonna keep. Let's see, I play this on black. We have a card that I probably want to cast on turn 2. Alright. So we have to get rid of a memory lapse here. So we can't eat a memory lapse. We have to have our draw stubs. So unfortunately, with them having Magma Opus, they can Wrath this. If I play this out, this would be a really good play, right? If I didn't have to play with the Wrath on turn 3 from them. So I'm just gonna play this to play around their Wrath. And if they tap out for an Expressive Iteration next turn, I'll stick this and we'll go from there. So they probably want to find another blue, which they found. I still think I have to play this again, but then they just hold up Archmage's Charm forever and play on my turn. But it's the only play I have available to me. Then playing another iteration is good for us, I think. Because now I can stick the either Ranger-Captain. If I draw a 4th land, I think this is what I'm gonna do. And then play like an Esper Sentinel. Just gonna get some of my own card advantage going. And then have an option to stop them from playing cards. Because they already have. They have an Opus in hand they haven't done anything with. This puts a lot of pressure into play very quickly, and I still have this to kind of stop them from wrathing me. I think I want to get this down under the Archmage's Charm more. I guess this gives them the option to Gear Hulk and Magma Opus. But if that's the line of play they take, this can attack through. This lets the Wrath become available to them. And they get to have their memory lapse back. So it looks like we're not gonna be in a good spot this go around either. I guess my consideration there, my reason for pause was to consider not playing something and to potentially spike in a land and being able to double spell. But I want to tax them a little bit here. That's a strong hit. But we're definitely on the back foot. Don't think Ranger-Captain plus Esper Sentinel does it here. Let's see, there's probably a shark waiting on me. I know this attack looks very good. Let's see, they have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they can pay for the mastery anyway. It's no point in keeping this around because they can play Gear Hulk. They have a card on top. But if I do nothing, they just scry. So I have to attack here and put him dead on board next turn. Yeah, I'm not beating the shark. I can sack and save this, but if this gets countered, we lose. Okay. Yeah, just super dead. Like they're able to scry out of bad top decks. They had the shark. The shark was something that we needed them not to have. But see, so to wrap up here, this is very good. I still believe on paper that this has a good matchup against control, as good as you can have for a creature deck, right? I guess I should kind of explain what I mean by that. There are draws that they have, and they can just blow you out of the water. Like the Mizzix Mastery and the Opus Torrential Gear Hulk stuff is really hard to combat as a creature deck. But I think this is the best you can do in that department. There are a lot of ways you can tax their better plays, but if their cards just line up against you, you're just dead. Like if they have removal into Sleeper and you don't have exactly what you need, their options are broader than yours, is why that matchup can't go awry, even with my thoughts on it being a good matchup on paper. But overall, I still believe this is the best version of Death and Taxes you can play right now in Historic. This card alone fixes your creature matchup problems. It lets you go wide. It grows as your board grows. It's very good. I think it's a very good inclusion in every deck that can play it. And the human synergistic archetype should be playing at least 2. What this card or what this deck needs to be truly tier 1 hyper competitive, up there with the Jessicas and Creativities of the world, would be Champion of the Parish. Having a really good 1-drop allows you to slant even further, to be more aggressive and have your taxes on your early turns be even more meaningful. You could cut the Thraben Inspectors and probably the Kitesails for 4 of those, and this deck looks really clean. But until we have a 1-drop that fills that role, I don't think that this is something you should take to a tournament and expect to win if Jeskai going to be the best deck in the format. Because it takes a lot to go right, and more important, it takes a lot for them to go wrong for you to win that matchup. And that's just kind of where Historic's at the moment. But overall, I really like this deck, and you should give it a try. Comment below to tell me how you would run this, or changes you would make, or things you disagree with me on. But until then, I'll catch everyone next time.